Then I'll turn this on. Remember to bring the actual clock with me today, so that's good. Side, sitting straight down onto the block. Letting the legs out a little bit. We're just going to take a couple of moments to breathe and let ourselves settle. So we're just trying to get the breath to deepen, long, and a little, let the mind quiet. And you know the drill. You have to wriggle out through the shoulders, get these hips nice and open. See how the body feels. A little scan round maybe. And maybe any affirmations or mantras that you're using, you could quietly work your way through at this point. You try to let the breath come from low down so you can feel the diaphragm expand out, i.e. your belly gets a little bit bigger as you breathe in. You want to breathe enough so that you can start to feel the ribs expand as well. And slowly allow yourself to exhale. If you spend a lot of time hunched over a laptop, chances are that you spend a lot of time rounded shoulders and compressing your lungs and your diaphragm. So this will feel like a rather full breath. And you might even feel a little bit dizzy just by taking in a lot of air. That's all perfectly normal. A slow twist. Turn to the left. So have to look over that rear shoulder. Only if it's comfortable through the neck. Otherwise, you can keep your chin facing where your heart is, which will be more towards the front of the mat. A bit of a lift in the spine as you inhale. A bit more rotation as you exhale. We'll take it across gently to the opposite side. There's a little pause, and a breath, and then an exhale into the opposite side. Come back to the center again. Now so as to walk the fingers this time out towards the left. I'm going to stretch the right arm up, and it's a lift. Pressing down through that bottom arm, drawing the shoulder back a little bit away from the front of the mat. And just getting those ribs to open up even further. Taking a little back bend, side bend. To the side on this left. The hands back down. And let ourselves move out to the opposite side. up as high as you can. Press down, feel the shoulders opening up. Towards the back of the mat a little bit. And then we're going to release. We're going to stretch the ribs even further. We'll bring the little finger and the thumb together, but keep the rest of the fingers open, so it's like a little bowl or a cup. We're looking straight down into the heels of our hands. As we inhale, we'll take the hands close as we can to the face. Let the eyes follow the hands, and then stretch them up towards the sky. And see if you can straighten the arms out and lift the shoulders a little. So taking the breath all the way to the top, and then using the exhale to come down. So you're going to feel the rib cage opening and stretching. It's a little strong to get those arms to open up fully and the shoulders to lift. By looking towards the fingers, we get a gentle bend into the back of the neck. Again, we want to be careful that we don't sort of drop that back and look any further back. We just want to look towards the hands. Try to keep the knees low. So as you stretch the shoulders up, there might be a temptation for the hips to lift a little bit or the knees lift, so you can keep them relaxed. So it's only the shoulders, if anywhere, that feel like there's a little tension growing. Okay, the last time coming through. And I'm going to make our way down onto the floor. So untangle the legs. We're going to use the block behind. So knees high, just to keep ourselves safe. Roll ourselves in. The spine is looked after. And we keep the block under the head, not into the neck or the shoulders. I'm going to draw the right knee in towards the body and take the hands around the shin. And let the knee move a little towards the side of the ribs. So it's going towards the armpit here on the right side. I'm using both hands to draw down. I'm actually trying to draw the shoulders evenly to the floor at the same time as drawing the knee in. Release that knee. Feet come to the floor again, and take the opposite leg in. Just giving the hips a little chance to open up. Again, trying to keep the shoulders flat to the ground. But the fact that the legs offset, the hands are offset to the side, the shoulders are not going to be absolutely flat and even, but as close as we can get. Now I'm going to release and move back over towards the right side. And draw that in. Allow yourself to get into the same position I had before, and then carefully slide the left heel along the ground until I can start to press out through the heel and lengthen the leg away. Let's see if I can get the calf to touch the floor. Foot is flexed, the toes to the sky, and the thigh rolls in a little towards the center line. This is like a lot bigger stretch. And then I'm going to slide the heel back in again. Now the sliding of the heel is important. You don't want to be firing the leg out, keeping it high. You'll be adding tension into your hip flexors and your lower back. And we're actually trying to stretch out, not add tension in. Again, when the opposite side is ready, you're going to slide the heel along. You can even just use your toes to reach your foot out to get to a point where it's easy to slide the heel away. Might be a little bumpy and catch and grip a little bit. Don't worry about that. Release the heel back in towards the body and leg release. You're going to have the toes and the heels come together so the knees are high. And take the arms out wide for a moment as I draw the left leg towards the sky, turning the toes out and come into a figure four, dropping the ankle bone to the outside of that right thigh, keeping the foot flexed. I'm going to let the left knee travel as far forward as I can, and then lift up on the tippy toes of the right foot as I draw the right knee in. And I take the left hand through the center and I either find the back of the thigh or the shin bone, whatever is accessible. And it doesn't actually have to be the same on both sides. I'm going to try and press the shoulders down into the floor again, and also try and send your tailbone down to the ground and towards the front of the mat. So we're getting the spine very flat. Sometimes you see people that are very tight in the hamstrings. The spine actually rounds and the hips lift off of the ground. You can even get people whose pelvis is no longer on the floor. So we're trying to get that length and stability, working on the postural muscles, as well as quite a big stretch into that hip muscle out to the side. Take our last breath here. Release. We'll just extend the left leg up to the side, guide, give a little shake out. Bring the feet down together so they touch. And the right leg come up. Take a breath in, turn the toes out as you bend your knee. Make yourself to use the next exhale to position your right knee as far forward as you can comfortably without tilting the pelvis around. And then draw that left leg in. So we take the right hand through, left hand around the outside of that left leg, interlaced fingers. Remember to keep the right foot flexed. Tailbone down, shoulders down, long spine. All right. Now just bring your feet to the floor, slide one leg again, heel on the ground out towards the front of the mat. And foot to wriggle through the spine and the shoulders, get nice and long. And then we'll draw the left leg in, but this time we're going to take the hands around the back of the thigh, interlacing the hands low towards the groin. Extending the leg towards the sky and on this left side, foot stays flexed, and hopefully the leg is directly over the hip. Press the shoulders into the ground a little, draw the belly in to get that lower back long as we can, and we lengthen out through the right heel, spreading the toes, flexing the foot towards the sky, rolling the thigh in slightly. Legs may tremble here, don't worry, that's fairly normal, especially if the legs are tight. Slide legs back in, wriggle out through the hips, the legs back out again. Draw the right leg in, hands around the back of that thigh. Now ourselves the left. We're literally pressing your leg into your hands. You're going to feel the stretch across your chest and your shoulders. You're going to add to that by pressing the shoulder blades as flat to the floor as you can. And lengthening out through the heel and drawing the hips and the pelvis down towards the floor. Slowly release. Bring both heels in towards the body. Take the arms out wide in line with your chest, palms up. Just let the legs roll over towards the right side. Trying to keep the shoulders on the ground. You're going to take the right hand and just place it on top of the left thigh to help rotate around a little more. If your shoulders are already lifted off the ground, I would say that's not necessary. Just allow the legs to hang where they hang. You can try and let the bottom leg relax down, regardless of where that top leg finds itself. And then over the left, back up. And take it over to the opposite side. And the legs back up. You can slide the block out from behind the head to the very back of the mat. Take the hands and interlace them very lightly around the back of the skull with the elbows out wide. Now, I'm going to lift the pelvis off the ground a couple of times and wriggle out the spine so it's really long. I'm going to come up onto the tiptoes, walking the feet as close into my body as I can, squeezing the knees very lightly together. I'm going to take the breath from here, draw the belly down to the spine and the spine to the floor. Let the chin come in towards the chest. Now I'm going to try and lift the chest towards the thigh. I'm going to come into half bow. Put hands forwards past the thighs. Allow yourself to extend the legs out towards the sky, squeezing the thighs together a little. On the exhale, ease the legs down until they get to about the height of our eyes. Press out through the balls of the feet, spread the toes. Remember to breathe. Really press that lower back into the floor. Draw those abs in. And we'll slowly take the legs back up. On the inhale, bring the hands around the back of the head. Roll the spine down to the floor. Allow ourselves to draw the knees in towards the body. And we'll take a little hug, chin towards the chest. We'll roll on the spine. And then gently roll out to the right side using the hands to press into the floor. Come back up to sitting, and we'll swing the feet towards the back of the mat. And allow ourselves to come down onto our bellies. We're going to take the feet out, hip distance apart, and bring the hands down to the bottom of the ribs, low cobra. So on the inhale, we lift. And we're just going to slowly draw the shoulder blades together. Exhale it back down. Trying to press the legs away. Keep the legs and thighs and the feet touching the floor. And we'll take the hands wide, like a press-up position, onto the fingertips for a gecko. So the breathing changes. This is the exhale. Press into the fingers and draw the spine forwards and up, and then the legs away. Inhale on the way down. Keep the shoulders back a little bit. We'll come up for the last one of those. Come to the ground, bring the hands down to the bottom of the ribs, press wedge in from the floor. Bring the hands right into the very front edge of the mat. Allow ourselves to have the bootlegs down. Let's see if you can lift your knees off the ground. Hold there for a moment, drawing the belly in. Be careful not to sink into the shoulders. You want to press down, keep them nice and broad across the back. Shoulders spread out, in line with the rest of the body. And we're going to see if we can lift the hips up, so we can actually roll over the toes. If it's a painful, just allow yourself to step through that section. And then we're going to walk the legs out just a little bit. Get some side to side movement through the hips. I'm going to press down into the floor, keep those knuckles attached to the ground. Very lightly roll the armpits down towards the ground. So again, just opening up the back of the shoulders a fraction. And take your feet as wide as the mat. And then from that down dog position, just ease the hands towards you until the heels of your feet come to the ground on the mat. We're very much down dog shape. We get the feet flat to the floor. Legs are as straight as they can be. And then we're going to take the left hand away from the ground and out to the right outside ankle for a twist. Try and keep the hips over the center line a little bit. You can sway out naturally to the side. We'll see if you can adjust them back if you're able to, if you've got the space. One more breath. And then we'll bring the hand to the floor and simply flip that over. We'll bring the hands to the ground. We'll walk the fingers back out towards the front of the mat where we can. We'll bring the feet back a distance apart. Allow ourselves to adjust nicely into our happy shape, down dog, and then scissor the right leg to the sky as high as you can, keeping the arms straight. And we'll come into a three-legged plank. I'll press back onto that three-legged down dog and draw the right knee towards the chest. Squeeze it in and come forward in the plank again. And then move back, down dog, scissor the leg to the sky. Draw the knee back in towards the chest. Squeeze it in. One more time. Lengthen it up towards the sky. Draw the knee in towards the body, into the plank. Back into down dog and letting the foot come to the floor. Going to scissor the left leg high. Come forward into a three-legged plank. Back into the down dog. Draw the knee in towards the chest. Come into the plank. Squeezing the knee in as best you can. Back into your down dog to scissor the leg high. Draw the knee in towards the chest. Bring it through into your plank. Into your down dog. Number two, we lift up high. Draw the knee in. Squeeze it through. And then got one more time to lift back and up. Draw the knee in. Squeeze as much as you can through the plank. Woo. And then we're back. Foot to the floor. And we'll walk the hands in towards the toes. So we're coming towards the back of the mat. Try to have the feet hip distance apart. Allow yourself as much bend in the knees as you require. We haven't really spent a lot of time stretching those hamstrings out, so they might still be a little tight. But the idea is to sink the ribs onto the thighs, which for most of us require a decent bend in the knees. Just letting the shoulders move out a little bit so they're away from the ears, keeping a nice blood flow through to the head. Then we're just going to wiggle the toes and the feet towards the outside edges of the mat. And then allow ourselves to just swing slowly across from side to side, keeping the legs straight so the fingers are on the floor. If fingers aren't on the floor, I would suggest staying in the first position with the feet hip distance apart and working on that side of things. If you're able to comfortably get your fingers to the floor, legs relatively straight, get a nice little sway, flow from side to side, stretch out some interesting muscles. And then we'll come back into the center. I'm going to wiggle the feet back in to hip distance apart so everybody's in the same place. And we'll sit down deep into a chair. Now, when your ribs and your thighs touch, it gives you some idea of how low your bottom's going to get. I'm going to take the hands out in front. So now they're more or less in line with your torso. We'll drive the body up, but keep the legs as low as we can. So come up halfway. Quite a long chair pose to play with. Keeping the belly in, we want to try and keep the lower spine as flat as we can. For most of us, we kind of hunch around a little bit. So we're actually going to have to draw the tailbone forwards and lift. But if you happen to be the other side of the coin, where your chest kind of flares forwards and you've got a deep arch in your spine, then you're going to need to draw this abdominal area here, just above your heart, towards the back a little bit, and tuck tailbone under. You work the other way. And I'm going to allow ourselves to lift. Whew. Just drop the arms down and shake it out a little bit. Now we did the figure four when we were on the ground. I'm going to do the same version with standing. So bring the hands in towards your heart. Allow yourself to look right to the front edge of your mat. So you've got a nice line to keep your focus on. It's a strong visual cue for you to work to. We'll soften the knees over the toes and shift the weight gently into the left leg. Now bringing the right knee high, flexing the foot. I'm going to bring it into that figure four position. And allow yourself to sit down a little lower into your chair. And try and keep the hips square to the front of the mat. So again, having that strong line to work to. You can feel whether you twisted your hips out as you came into the pose and realign yourself. And we'll lift out of that. Bring the foot gently down. You might need to give the legs a little shake out. So hello to your ankles and your toes and your feet. It's a big stretch for them. Focus again, front of the mat. Soften the knees over the toes. And then shift into that right foot, keeping the foot parallel on the mat. Left leg lifts, flex the foot, offer the bone of the ankle to the outside of the thigh as we sit down a little lower. And come lift carefully out of that. And the feet back in distance apart. Sweep the arms out wide as we breathe in. Hands to your heart down to the floor. Bend down to the ground. Over those hips. Tucking it in deep. And then walking the fingers in towards the front of the mat. So we're coming back into our down dog. This time I'm going to come up onto the tippy toes and just walk the feet in gently with straight legs. So I'm coming into a sort of a pike position. Draw the abdominals up. Get strong on the wrists and the shoulders. Doesn't last too long. Walk the feet in as far as we can. And then bring ourselves towards the front of the mat. Hands into the hips. Long spine, soft knees. We lift. Hands into the heart. We breathe in. We'll take a little back bend on the exhale. Put the hands back in towards the heart. Exhale over the hips, down to the floor. And we'll take the right foot to the back of the mat. Into a lunge, press out through the back heel. We'll drop the back heel onto the floor for warrior two, bringing the hands alongside the body. We'll take the right hand forwards and cartwheel our way up. One breath here, pressing the feet down evenly into the floor. Bring the hands in towards your heart, down to the ground we go. We're stepping back into down dog. Come forwards into plank. Drop the knees to the ground. Untuck the toes. So back onto the heels. The head comes to the floor for child's pose. We'll take a breath here. And then press into the shins, drawing the belly in. We round our way back up into all fours. Taking a breath on the exhale, lift the knees away from the ground. Let the hips come high and roll over the toes back into down dog. Come forwards into plank. Let the knees come to the floor. Untuck the toes as we sit back into child's pose. Take a breath in. Press down through the shins to lift our way back up. Inhale. Knees away from the ground. Roll over the toes into your dog. Come forwards into your plank. Knees come to the floor as you untuck. Sit back onto those heels. Press and drive. Bring it home. We're going to tuck the toes this time. Rest into down dog. Shift the right leg to the sky. Draw the knee in towards the chest. Foot through for the lunge. Use the exhale to push off the toes into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips, soften the knees, and let yourself lift. Hands come forwards again, take the back bend. Hands into the heart, and we exhale down to the floor. As we arrive, breath in, left leg back. Into the lunge, onto the fingertips, rest the shoulders a little, drop the heel in. Ready for your warrior two. Press both feet down. Balance through the legs and the groins. Inhale the hands to the heart. Down to the floor we go. Stepping back into our down dog. High as you can with the hips. Roll it forwards into the plank. Let the knees come to the floor. And we sit back into the child's pose. Exhale to bring our way back up. Lift the knees away from the ground. Roll over the toes as we press back. Forwards into the plank. Knees to the ground. Untuck the toes. We're sitting back, child. Press our way. Lift the knees. Roll it over the toes. One more time. Into the plank. Down to the floor. Untuck the toes if you can. Into neutral. Strong through the shoulders. Lift the knees. Yourself back into your down dog. Scissor the left leg. Pull the knee in towards the chest. Through to the lunge. Push off the back toes into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips and we lift up. Take the back bend again. Hands forwards and up. And towards the heart. And exhale down to the floor. taking the right foot to the back into a lunge, and checking that the front knee is over the ankle. Bring the hands alongside the body. Float the arms forward. Turn the tailbone down to lift the body up. Come into a high present. Take a breath here and just kiss the knee to the floor. And let ourselves lift. Coming back. So we're just moving through low lunge to a high lunge. And we're taking very little weight in that knee as it comes down. Two more. Try to come down rather than forwards. Last one. As you arrive, bring the hands to the floor. It's the back knee and drop the heel in, ready for warrior two. Sweep the arms alongside the body. Right arm comes forwards and up, we lift. Press down through those feet. Hands in towards the heart and down to the floor we go. Step it back into our down dog. We'll come forwards into plank, half plank, hover. Take the breath, but legs just change. Use the exhale to press into up dog. Roll over the toes again, down dog. Right leg scissors, lean towards the chest and through. Take a breath here. And press it forwards into that fold. Hands under the hips and let ourselves lift all the way to the sky. Back bend again. In towards the heart. And exhale down. Breath. Left leg into the lunge. Find your balance point. Check your knees over your ankle. Hands alongside your body. And bring them forward. Draw the belly in. Then tailbone down and use the exhale to lift. Drop the knee on your next exhale. And as I come up. Use these big muscles, lots of oxygen. Breathing runs away a little bit. Try and keep it long and smooth. One more time. Hands to the floor. Lift the back knee and drop the heel to the ground, warrior two. And we lift on the exhale. Hands to the heart and down to the floor we go. Step it back into our dog. Come forwards into plank. Half plank to hover. Inhale for the up dog. Exhale to down dog. And scissor the left leg high. Lean towards the chest and the foot comes through for the lunge. Take a breath. Step forwards. Hands onto the hips and the lift. Back bend. Hands to the heart and down to the floor. Softness in the knees. Hold it in deep. Right leg to the back of the mat, drop the heel in. Lift into our warrior two. Float the hands high this time. Rotate out towards the front of the mat. Step it back into your dog. Forwards into your plank. Half plank and float up. On your breath. Down dog, hips high and back. Right leg scissors. Lean to the chest and through to the lunge. Big breath. Use the exhale to come forward. Hands onto the hips. Last back bend. Hands through the heart. And down to the floor we go. Take a little breath, left leg back. Open up into our warrior two. Hands come high. Down to the floor. Stepping back into our dog. Upwards into the plank. Shoulders back. Elbows in. Breath. To the up dog. Exhale down. Inhale for the left leg. Knee towards the chest and bring the foot through. Take a breath and step it into the foot. Hands onto the hips. And we lift up. Turn the hands high. Bring them towards the heart. And let our breath settle and some of the heat lift out of the body. I started off a little chilly. Can't say I am now. Take a little time to spread those toes. Feel the feet. Let yourself reground after the flow. It's very easy when we're flowing for that sense of relationship to the ground to lift very high in the body. And so draw it back down, center ourselves, find ourselves pulled to the earth. We'll take a little breath from here. Use the exhale to come down to the floor. We're going to send the right foot to the back of the mat into lunge and drop the heel in. We'll take our warrior two, as we've done before. We'll take a little breath and extend out over the front thigh. Bring the forearm into the thigh as you reach the top arm high. Now turn the palm forwards and lengthen out as you exhale, follow in line of your body. And keeping your chest open and the ribs towards the sky, see if you can sink your bottom hand towards the floor. Fingertips will do, doesn't have to be a palm. I'm going to take the top arm, bring that onto the hip and then onto the base of the spine. I'm going to slowly straighten the front leg, triangle legs. I'm going to lift that hand just off the ground, enough to lengthen the chest towards the front of the mat, and then retake the right hand up towards the sky. Now soften the front knee into your warrior two. Turn the palm on the front hand, wrap yourself into reverse warrior. We're going to look positively towards the back foot. And then bring ourselves back into warrior two. Float the hands high and bring them onto the inside of this front leg. Down to the floor we go. Walk the fingers around to the long side of the mat. And just adjust the feet so the toes are in, the heels are out. Find the weight even through the feet. Tailbone presses towards the sky, feet down, and then we hinge from the hips. And let the body sink gently through the thighs towards the ground. And we're going to lift up slowly. Turn the heels in once. Turn the toes in again. Bring the heels in again. Now, it's not an exact science, but we want to bring the heels more or less underneath the knees. You have a little wriggle around to make sure you're happy in your hips. And then bring the hands gently onto your thighs. Keep the belly drawn in. Send the tailbone down to lift your body high. Hands just drop out in front of the groin. And then out to the side, a little bend in the elbows. Make some little power circles there. So bring your little finger onto your thumb. And then see if you can lift up onto the toes so the heels come away from the ground. Try and relax the shoulders down, draw the belly in. Stand as tall and upright as you can, which is not easy in this position. But imagine you're leaning against the wall behind you. We do that by pressing the pubic bone forwards a little bit. Every breath, it gets a little easier. One more breath. Heels come to the ground, hands comes to the thigh. Lean forwards again. Bring the hands to the ground. Walk the fingers into the front of the mat. We're into a lunge. You're just going to need to adjust the feet a little bit. And then step yourself into that forward bend. Fold deep. Feet are hip distance apart. Legs have warmed up a little more, so maybe a little straighter. And bring hands onto the hips, soften the knees a little to lift up. Bring hands towards the heart again as we breathe in. Use the exhale to come down to the floor again. Then we're taking the left leg back. Dropping the heel in for our warrior two. As you arrive, take a breath in. Use the exhale to extend out. Forearm comes down, top arm lifts. Inhale, get some space. Turn the palm. Use the exhale to lengthen out. Take another breath. Use that bottom arm onto the inside of the thigh, little further, fingertips to the floor. A little bit of weight pressing down on the back foot. We'll come back slowly into our warrior two. Take a little breath from there. And then we'll go back down again because I forgot. Oh, well, it was going quite well up until then. We'll take the top arm, bring it onto the hip, base of the spine. Allow ourselves to straighten the front leg slowly, triangle legs. Carefully lift that hand away from the ground. Lengthen the body out. And taking the top hand towards the sky. And then we really will bend the knee again to bring ourselves into warrior two. Turn the palm on the front hand, wrap around, look towards that rear hand. Come back into the warrior two. Allow the arms to lift and bring hands on the inside of this front leg. Take a little breath, walk the fingers around to the long side of the mat. Again, the legs off the play with the feet position. The toes are in, the heels are out. Lift the tailbone up, feet press down, and hinge over the hips towards the ground. Taking a few breaths, let's try and squeeze the shoulder blades out wide by bringing the elbows together a little bit. So we're stretching them out to the outer edges, towards our toes. Still pressing down through those feet. One more breath. And we lift. And this time, we don't come into a goddess pose, we're going to come into a squat. So we're going to turn the toes out, just as we did before. But start to walk your hands towards the back foot. At some point, you're going to bend the knee. You're going to lift the heel away from the ground on the back foot and pivot on the heel of the front foot, toes towards the sky. Now, as you bring your body back up to alignment, try and lengthen out through the heel with the toes flexed towards the sky. We'll take one breath, and then we're going to slinky across towards the other end of the mat. Ease ourselves gently down. So we want to be careful we look after the toes and don't get them tangled up. I'm going to press out through the heel a little bit just to protect the knee of the outstretched leg. And then move across again. So we do this 3 times to each side. You should be able to feel the muscles in the thigh lift in towards the hip as you extend your leg out. Now come into the front end for the last time. Allow ourselves to come back into the center. And walk the hands around to the front end of the mat. And this time we're going to step back into a down dog. And comes forward into a plank, letting the knees come to the ground directly underneath. And take a couple of rounds of cat-cow. Now come into neutral. Toes of your right foot underneath, lengthen the leg away. Just press down into the left shin, let the right leg lift, bend your knee, take your left hand out in front. Sweep the hand out to the side, let your eyes follow, and open the chest to look round towards the foot at the back of the mat. And then once you've found it, allow yourself to press the shin away. Keep the chest open to the side, try and keep the hips over the center line, keep the knee lifted in line with the hips. Remember to breathe. One more breath. Release everything out gently. Bring it back down to the ground. Tap the toes, off the left leg, lengthen away. Press into the shin to the left. Right arm comes out as you bend the knee. Float it around. Find your foot. Allow yourself to open up. You're going to release everything back down to the floor. And take the knees wide. Allow yourself to sit down onto the heels. You'll take a twist, taking that left hand underneath, out towards the right, dropping the shoulder down, head on the floor, and then walk your right hand as far forward as you can. Just try and roll the chest around underneath you. Keep the hips down low. The fingers gently back to lift. So to gently move around to the opposite side. And walk that left hand out. Let the chest open. And slowly out of that. Just come back onto the bottoms for a moment. Allow ourselves to bring the knees high, chin in towards the chest as we ease down to the floor. The arms out wide. Just wriggle the shoulders and the hips into the ground, get a nice long neck. And shimmy the hips over towards the left. The knees go down towards the right. Now, if you're able to get your bottom leg onto the ground and still squeeze these two thighs together so they're touching and the shoulders remain on the floor, then you can flex the feet and extend the legs out to the side. If your shoulders aren't on the ground, if your bottom leg isn't on the floor and you're not able to keep the thighs together, then this is a little bit too strong for your body at the moment, possibly. and it would be safer to stay with the bent knees. But if you're able to take this, you slowly start to flex the feet, squeezing the thighs together, now lengthening the heels out. Bend the knees and bring the heels towards the bottom and let the legs lift up slowly. We'll draw ourselves back into the center line as we take a breath. Shimmy to the right, legs to the left. The same applies. Maybe you'll do it on one side and not the other, so work appropriately. Don't push yourself, go, I've got to do it the same, otherwise I'm not balanced. Well, you're already not balanced. You want to bring yourself into balance first, and then you can start to do it on both sides when your body has opened up, which might take some time. Not necessarily one class, maybe months and years. Practice. That's the whole idea of yoga, just listening to your body and working out how to make the practice safe and strong for you. We'll bend the knees, bring the heels back in, roll the spine back along. Lengthen the legs out to the corner edges of the mat. Going to bring the right hand onto the belly, just below the belly button, palm down, and the left hand just above. So one hand on the breath, and one hand on the heart. Shoulders down, loosen the jaw, the legs roll out. Close your eyes. We'll begin to wiggle the toes and the fingers. Allow the wrists and the ankles to join in. Breathe a little deeper, some more energy and connection in your body. Use your exhale to lengthen out in any way that feels meaningful to your body. Now slowly draw the heels back in along the ground. Then lift the knees in towards the body for a very soft, simple hug. Rocking, stirring, whatever feels good. Carefully roll onto the right side as you take a breath in. Use the hands to press into the floor on the exhale and roll gently back up. Come into a nice seated posture. Sit tall. Take a breath as you bring the hands in towards the heart. On the next exhale, let the chin drop. As you feel your belly drawn to your spine, allow the bow to fin, sealing your practice. Inhale, lifting the spine. Opening the eyes. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. Hope you enjoyed. See you on the mat again soon.